What is up, YouTube? Jamie the Kid 00 here, bringing you guys a brand new deck profile of Thunder Dragons in May 2020. Everyone thinks this deck is dead and buried, but as the duel videos I brought you guys yesterday showed, the deck still has some functionality. It's definitely a shadow of what it once was, but with this new list, you should be able to have quite a lot of fun with it in today's metagame. So we're going to jump right into the main board. This is Thunder Dragon Titan Turbo. It is entirely revolved around gaining control of the board through massive amounts of destruction effects through Thunder Dragon, Titan, and friends in the deck. So we're going to get things started. This is heavily focused on the Thunder Dragon engine. This does not make a lot of use of additional side engines like Chaos Dragons to give it additional power. It's all about the synergy of the main archetype. So for you guys who like to be Thunder Dragon purists, this is for you. So, starting off the list, we want to open up with the 3 copies of the original Thunder Dragon. This is going to have a dual use in the deck, but it's primarily here for your Titan fuel. The fact that you can go activate this card, discarding to search one, triggering it, discarding to search another one, triggering it, is your basic premise of the advantage system that Thunder Dragon generates you. There are also a large number of discard effects in the deck, and because we very, very regularly are going to be using the Thunder Dragon Fusion spell to make Titan, we can usually discard one of these, search 2 of these, discard the last one for, say, a Nightmare effect, Thunder Dragon Fusion for a Titan, and then reset the other 2. So there are a lot of plays you can make with the advantage Thunder Dragon gives you. So it's actually surprisingly far more important than it used to be. Then moving through the list, we are playing 3 of pretty much everything. So we're playing 3 copies of Thunder Dragon Roar. So Thunder Dragon Roar is super important for, of course, your special summons. This is the guy you want to be banishing from the deck as often as possible, or special summoning to the board to then banish onwards to get your first special summon of the combo. You're then playing 3 copies of Thunder Dragon Dark. Now, again, this follows a dual use in the deck because Thunder Dragon Dark is like normal Thunder Dragon, but it can operate as a quick effect, giving you one of your Thunder Dragons to actually trigger Titan during your opponent's turn. So it's one of the main cards to operate that as well. And then we are playing 3 copies of Thunder Dragon Hawk because the advantage that this card gives you in terms of the ability to start your combos again or end your combos with a discard to get to what is often a 3rd monster on the field can be really, really important. So Thunder Dragon Hawk definitely shouldn't be underlooked, and like I said before, when Titan's on the field, that's a res and a destruction. So all very, very important. And of course, the only other thing to note is Thunder Dragon Hawk does have that extra ability to recycle cards from your hand back into the deck, and with this list, that can be important. It's often something you want to consider to put discard a Thunder Dragon, search 2 copies to your hand, and then shuffle them straight back in with the Hawk. It can definitely come up. Because you're playing so many Thunder Dragons, you are a little more susceptible to bricks. We are also then playing 3 copies of Thunder Dragon Matrix, or the Egg, as I will probably refer to it in the video. Matrix is, again, a little bit more important in this list because of its interaction with Titan. So that's the primary reason why we are playing this. So the 3 copies of Matrix. If you go check out the duel video, you'll see some clutch moments when this came up in its faculty as a quick effect. Then we are playing some support cards. We're playing everyone's favourite Batteryman Solar. Batteryman Solar is really, really strong because this is the card that will often get you to your Link 4 plays, which are your Boral plays when you're going second, and your Unchained Abomination play when you're going first. Oftentimes you can set up boards using Solar and, say, a Hawk or a Thunder Dragon Fusion in hand and things like that will result in plays such as you can have a Titan, another Titan that you've summoned with a Predaplant Cobra, Predaplant Anaconda, and an IP Masquerader, and then of course those 2 are going to turn into an Abomination, so you can really go quite deep with that. Solar's also really, really useful for setting up your monsters into the graveyard to then be rezzed with Hawk, and things like that. So it's the true combo starter of the deck, so your triple Solar will leave up here. Accompanying them, we wanted to have 3 more normal summons when we developed this deck, so we're also playing 3 copies of Aloof Lupine. Aloof Lupine forms a very, very similar bond to Solar in the deck. It's able to immediately trigger Thunder Dragon effects from your hand and from the deck by banishing them. It's just, again, an immediate combo starter, gets you instantly into a Link 2 and then off and onwards into a Link 3, and at the very least, its plays are almost always going to search you a Thunder Dragon Fusion to go on to make your Titan. So moving through, that then brings us to the last Thunder Dragon type card in the deck, which is Thunder Dragon Duo. This is something we mainly search when we already have what we need, or when we're in a grind game situation, and this can also trigger a lot of dormant Thunder Dragons that are in our graveyard, whether it's banished to summon effect. Then the deck plays an extensive number of hand traps. Because this deck is pretty much able to set up its plays off of 1 and 2 card interactions, it leaves about 3 to 4 card slots in your hand to be non-interacting cards, as in cards that don't really interact with your own turn, but interact with your opponent to slow them down. Of course, that's an ideal situation. You are going to draw a lot of these guys, but we wanted to increase your likelihood to draw hand traps and ways to control your opponent. So in doing so, we're playing somewhere in the region of 12 hand traps, and it's never really caused an issue. In fact, it's only ever been good for us. So what we're playing is 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. So Ash Blossom, really strong card in the metagame right now. These could debatably be infinite impermanences to play around things like Called by the Grave, but I'm really enjoying Ash Blossom in this particular list that we've been testing. Stops so many important things in the metagame right now. Stops Halkifibrax, and like, if it stops Halkibrafax, it's good enough for me. We're then playing 3 copies of Fantastical Dragon Phantasme. This kind of performs a dual use in the deck. It gets you closer to hand traps and gets you further away from brick hands of Thunder Dragons that maybe have too many components in them. So I'm really quite enjoying what Phantasme brings for me. It also means that as this is a heavy going second deck, we are able to use this quite proactively as we go into our opponent's board to protect from targeting effects. So I quite like Phantasme and what it brings to the list. And it's also another monster to get us towards those higher link tier monsters when we are going second into an opponent's board. Then we're playing one of my favourite hand traps of the format, that being Nibiru, the Primal Being. Nibiru is so important for when your opponent is going off, and you can just slam the nugget down on their board. A lot of decks will make Herald beyond 5 cards. So the moment you see the 5 cards, you just can slam this guy down. It's a little bit unfortunate when you see this against some of the earlier Eldritch lists. However, as we are seeing Eldritch become a bit more of a combo deck, you can take away their whole advantage engine with the Nibiru. So absolutely love this big guy. And then the whole hand trap we built the deck around was the 3 copies of Dimensional Shifter that you get to play in the deck. Now, a lot of people have forgotten about this card. It did come out at the same time as Nibiru, and for a while it was just as impactful. For those of you who don't know what this guy does, he reads, if you have no cards in your graveyard, as a quick effect, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard, and until the end of the next turn, any card sent to the graveyard is banished instead. Now, this is important for the deck for 2 reasons. One, almost every deck in the metagame right now really wants stuff in the graveyard. And you don't. You want all of your stuff to miss the graveyard entirely and head off to the banished zone to trigger their effects. This guy is going to help you do both of those things. He's so important, and Thunder Dragon is a very unique deck because it does have quite a strong ability to modulate the graveyard, so you can have situations, often in turns 2 and 3, where this card is still viable for you to activate. So that's the full hand trap lineup we're playing. It's somewhere in the region of 30 monsters. It is a huge component, but if again, almost everything in this deck triggers like a spell if it wants to, especially with all the Thunder Dragon's second effects. So these are almost your trap cards. Half of the monsters in the deck behave like spells. And then we're going to get onto the actual spell lineup in the list. So the 3 most important and impactful spells in the deck, I feel, are the 3 copies of Thunder Dragon Fusion. So this entirely revolves around the control portion of this deck. You have a cool interaction in this list with the Predaplant Link monster. In the Predaplant, the activation clause, which stops you from using more than 1 Thunder Dragon Fusion per turn, is dodged by the Anaconda. So you can actually get 2 of these off in a turn, setting up Thunder Dragon Titan, which is really cool. So 3 of these, they're really good for the deck. They're awesome because of the fact that even if your opponent, say, survives a turn, like you get forced to go first, you set up a Titan Pass, you can then, if your opponent blows out your board and doesn't kill you, this card is integral to getting you back into the game, because you can just banish it from the graveyard, search your deck for an important Thunder Dragon card. Then continuing through the spells, we are playing 3 copies of Pot of Desires. The deck is entirely comprised of 3-ofs. There's almost nothing in there that's a 1-off that we will actually miss, so why not play a card that literally draws you 2 for almost no loss? If we're banishing 3 of, say, our Hawk or our Thunder Dragon Fusion, it's real unfortunate, but otherwise we're really not minding too much. So we'll skip those out of the way and get ourselves through to almost the last spells. We're playing one copy of Gold Sarcophagus. It's just an instant Thunder Dragon Roar or Thunder Dragon Dark, whatever we need it to be. This immediately just triggers a Thunder Dragon from the deck. And hey, if we don't fusion that card back into the deck, it's going to be there in 2 turns for us to pick it straight up. And then in a similar vein, we are playing 3 copies of Allure of Darkness to round out the list. Allure of Darkness being an absolute pot of greed card in this deck because it allows our cards to trigger from our hand. You can banish your Roars and your Darks using this, and then they will also get their effects. So you get to draw 2 cards and then immediately get a search or a banish. So it's truly, truly pot of greed. You're going 2 for 2. So the card is absolutely nuts. So moving on to the extra deck, this is essentially just Thunder Dragon utility cards, as in the fusion monsters, and then a bunch of stuff to really help you remove your opponent's board and assert your own dominance and get control of the game. It's a really weird look at the control deck. It's a control deck that doesn't revolve around playing control traps, it revolves around playing a lot of control monsters. So let's get right into this. So we're playing 3 copies of Thunder Dragon Titan. So Thunder Dragon Titan is your integral card. If you don't know what he does, he must be fusion summoned or special summoned by banishing 1 Thunder monster from your hand, 1 Thunder fusion monster you control, except another Titan. Now that second part will come up, and we'll come to that in a moment. It's going to be kind of cool. And then his other cool effect is when a Thunder Dragon monster's effect is activated even in the hand, even during the damage step, as a quick effect, you can destroy 1 card on the field, and that is the component that this revolves around. He's almost immovable by card effects because of the fact that if he would be destroyed, he can banish 2 cards from the graveyard, which trigger your Thunder Dragon effects and only help you stake on the board even harder. So Titan's really, really powerful going first. He's also powerful going second because of the fact that you can summon this, and if he sticks, he's very, very hard to remove, and then you can just start triggering your Thunder Dragon effects in hand and take your opponent's cards away from them. You can usually get in excess of about 4 or 5 pops from this without really having to try. So, the heart and soul of the deck, the Titan. So the second fusion monster we're playing in the list is actually the original twin-headed Thunder Dragon. So the purpose of playing twin-headed Thunder Dragon is a little bit gimmicky, but it does come up. So you make it using 2 of the original Thunder Dragons, the first monster we profiled in the list. So the way you actually make this is you're often going to be using it in brick hands where you've opened, say, a Thunder Dragon fusion, and then your original Thunder Dragons, and say a Roar. So what you can find yourself doing, if I can just grab the cards out of my list, is say you've just got a hand of this. That doesn't really get you too far in your opening play. So what you can do is you can activate your first Thunder Dragon, discarding it to the graveyard, searching for another one, discard that, and then add the last one to your hand. You can then activate the Thunder Dragon fusion, putting these 2 back into the deck, special summoning the original twin-headed Thunder Dragon. That then of course goes to the graveyard. You can then banish the Roar and the twin-headed to special summon a Titan. And then you've also put back these 2 Thunder Dragons. You have this other Thunder Dragon in your hand with which to use to trigger this. And of course, you're then going to trigger the Roar to special summon from the deck. So that's the interactions where it can come up. Like I said, it's a little bit gimmicky, but it does come around on the odd occasion. Then we play an absolute plethora of Link monsters, and a lot of them do come up more often than you'll think. So for the interactions with Thunder Dragon Matrix, we are playing 1 copy of Linkuriboh and 1 copy of Relinquished Anima. So the Linkuriboh, first of all, that comes up for usually in break hands when Dragon Matrix is your only real normal summon, but it's also important because in situations where you want to make your Unchained Abomination, you actually end up with a level 1 token from Batteryman Solar, and that can't be used to make the A-bomb. So what we do is we link it away for the Linkuriboh, giving us an effect monster on the field. And that's the way around we can get it. Then, in terms of the Relinquished Anima, as we're playing a deck that revolves around going second and doesn't really care too much about having Thunder monsters on the field outside of some Summer Summoner, you can actually make this guy into your opponent's board, and if they've been negligent on where they've positioned cards, you can take them away immediately using the Relinquished Anima. In some of my testing, I ended up taking away things like the Nightmare Griffin that was left in their extra monster zone. They were going to be trying to lock me down using that Griffin, and I just immediately summoned a Matrix, summoned Anima, took it away from them. So it can be really, really strong. Your opponent really wants to watch where they've put their cards, and with combo boards, they're probably leaving something in front of an extra monster zone for you. We were then playing a fair few Link 2s. So we're playing the one copy of IP Masquerena, because making an abomination that can't be destroyed by card effects is absolutely disgusting and super difficult for your opponent to shift, especially if there's a Titan behind it that also is going to struggle to be destroyed by card effects. So you create a lot of controlling, strong monsters. We play the one Predaplant Verte Anaconda. So Verte Anaconda is awesome. You can target a face-up monster on the field. It becomes dark until the end of the turn. You can pay 2,000 life points, send a fusion or a polymerization normal or quick play spell from your deck to the grave, and this effect becomes that spell's effect. When that card is activated, you also cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn. So you can understand why these two interact really well together. If you make this and then make an IP underneath it, then you trigger its effect later on in the turn. Once you pass into your opponent's turn, you can use the IP to turn these two immediately away into an Unchained Abomination. We then play the Nightmare package in the form of the one Nightmare Cerberus and the one Nightmare Unicorn. Again, they are both just, not Unicorn, Phoenix, they are both just in here as utility to remove your opponent's threat cards as you try to set up your Titan. And then the last Link 2 we play is one Summer Summoner. He really comes up quite clutch in the grind game, setting up Thunder monsters on your field of your opponent's turn for them all to trigger their effects. So really, really cool card for that. Then we play one Link 3, because Link 3s are actually something that we don't really want to put our resources too far into. We normally want to skip straight past them and get to 4s, but Nightmare Unicorn is too important for us to not include in the list. It's, again, a very, very strong removal card that you can ladder through with the smaller Nightmares, so you can take a back row and take a card, or you can take a monster and take a card, and then you're also feeding these a lot of the time using your Thunder Dragons, which you're generating in hand pretty much for free. So, again, free removal, I'll take that. Then for our Link 4 big boys, we are playing one copy of Borreload Dragon. For those kind of hard to remove targets, we've got a lot of destruction effects, but we haven't got a lot of ways of dealing with things that can't be destroyed by card effects and still have a lot of attack points. So we're going to be using this guy to take them away. We're then also playing one Boral Sword Dragon, because we're going second, guys. We want to OTK, so why not play this guy? And then our final Link 4, I've talked about him all the time, is Unchained Abomination. Now I'm going to move these two out of the way, and we'll just take a moment to appreciate the fact that Unchained Abomination is a destruction king. He activates a destruction effect when a monster is destroyed by battle. He triggers a destruction effect in the end phase, but then most importantly, he triggers a destruction effect once per turn when another card on the field is destroyed by a card effect. So you can see immediately how these two work together. You have an Abomination up here, you have a Titan somewhere underneath him if you're that way inclined, and what's going to trigger is you'll go, say, activate a Thunder Dragon, Titan will pop one card, and then in response, Abomination will trigger and immediately destroy another card on the field. So it's just giving you even more advantage, and hey, 3k and 3-2, you're 6-2, you're 1800 away from game, which, I mean, you're a hawk away from summoning a Roar, and that's your last push. But yeah, guys, that's been my kind of quick walkthrough of Thunder Dragons in this format. Genuinely do give these a bit of a go on whatever dueling platform you are actually experimenting with at the moment. You'll have a lot more fun than you expect. This was a deck that was handed to me by a friend of mine, and I wasn't really expecting great things of it, and genuinely, if you go back and watch the recordings for the Edo Pro video I did of this, it was some of the most fun I've actually had dueling with a deck in this format. So I really didn't expect Thunder Dragon to be quite as cool. If you have any questions about the list or any recommendations you'd like to give, please leave them down in the comment section down below. I love to hear what you think of it. Let me know what you want to see next. Leave this a like if you did enjoy it. I'm experimenting with a different way of doing the sound, so let me know about that as well if you can. Otherwise, if you are new here, please do leave us a sub. It's really great to hear you guys following the channel, and share this with your friends if you think they'd benefit from it. Either way, I've been Jamie the Kid 00. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time for some more Yu-Gi-Oh! Related content. Peace out. Bye-bye.